Hey there. You ready to dive into something kind of wild? We're talking about a book that claims to reveal what Jesus was really up to during those years that nobody talks about.
That's right. We're unpacking the Aquarian Gospel of Jesus. And get this, it claims to be based on the Akashic Records.
Okay, hold up the Akashic Records. I'm guessing those aren't your typical ancient scrolls.
Not even close. Basically, imagine a universal library where every thought, every event, every vibe is recorded.
Whoa, like a cosmic diary of everything. Okay, but who's the author? And how'd they get their hands on this supposed cosmic intel?
Well, that's where it gets interesting. The book was supposedly transcribed by a guy named Levi H. Dowling back in the early 1900s.
Okay, so early 1900s, not exactly ancient history, but go on.
Right, so Dowling claimed he could access these Akashic records like tuning into a specific radio frequency.
Wait, so he thought thoughts had like radio waves?
Basically, he believed everything vibrates at its own unique frequency, and if you could tap into that, well, you could access all sorts of hidden knowledge.
Okay, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah.
So what exactly does this Aquarian Gospel say about Jesus?
Well, for starters, it claims Jesus spent those lost years traveling to places like India and Tibet, studying with all sorts of spiritual masters.
So not exactly the Sunday school version of Jesus's life, then?
Not quite. And this idea of Jesus venturing east, it's been floating around for a while, actually. Some scholars point to potential connections between early Christianity and Eastern philosophies.
Fascinating. So we've got cosmic records, a well-traveled Jesus. What other secrets does this Aquarian Gospel hold?
Well, one chapter that really stands out is all about prayer. It's like Jesus gave a whole seminar on how to connect with the divine.
Okay, now that's something I think we could all use a little help with. Spill the tea on the Aquarian Gospel's prayer tips.
All right, so picture this. Jesus is up on a mountain with his disciples, and he says, prayer is the soul's sincere desire, uttered or unexpressed.
I like that. It's about tapping into something deeper than just reciting words.
Exactly. And the video emphasizes that this version of Jesus wasn't a fan of those showy public prayers. He was all about finding that quiet inner connection.
So less about being seen, more about truly feeling it.
Right. It's about getting real with yourself and with the divine. And that's where the Aquarian Gospel's version of the Lord's Prayer comes in.
Okay, we've got to unpack this because we got a little taste of this earlier. Give me the Aquarian Lord's Prayer remix.
All right, so it starts out pretty familiar. Our Father God, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth, even as it is in heaven. Give us this day the substance of our needs.
So far, so good. But then it takes a hard left-right.
You know,
Yeah.
instead of forgive us our trespasses, it says, help us to forget the debts that others owe to us, that our own debts may be canceled.
Whoa. It's like a spiritual debt forgiveness program.
Right. It's not about asking for a free pass, but about actively releasing those grudges, those feelings of being wronged.
Because holding on to anger and resentment, it's like carrying around baggage you don't need.
Precisely. And this idea of karmic debt and forgiveness, it's a big theme in Eastern spirituality.
It's like they say holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Exactly. It takes real strength to let go of those debts, to break free from those negative cycles.
Okay, so after that twist in the Lord's Prayer, does it go back to the familiar wording?
It does for a little bit, continuing with, and suffer us not to be led into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
Keeping it classic.
But then it adds this, for if we forgive all those who trespass against us, our Father God will also forgive us.
So that connection between forgiving others and receiving forgiveness is front and center.
Absolutely. It's like this two-way street. Our willingness to forgive directly impacts our own experience of being forgiven.
It's like that saying, the best revenge is a life well lived, but for forgiveness.
And it all wraps up with this powerful closing line, for by thy law, which is the law of love, we are judged.
Wow. So in the Aquarian Gospel, love is the ultimate judge and jury.
It seems that way. It's a message that speaks to that universal yearning for connection, for compassion, for a world ruled by love, not fear or judgment.
It's like we're all connected in this cosmic web, and our willingness to forgive sends ripples throughout the whole thing.
Exactly. It's this intricate dance of cause and effect. And it highlights how powerful self-knowledge is, because to truly forgive, to truly let go of those debts, we have to understand ourselves first.
It's like that line from earlier, when you know yourself, you know the world of illusion. Maybe by really getting to know ourselves, we can see past those illusions of separation and recognize how connected we truly are.
That's a beautiful insight. And it speaks to the power of these ancient teachings, even if they might seem a little out there at times.
Because it's not always about finding all the answers in some old texts. It's about letting those texts spark something within us, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
And maybe that's the whole point. to get us thinking differently, to challenge our perspectives, to open our minds to new possibilities.
So it's less about dogma and more about using these teachings as a springboard for our own personal journeys.
Exactly. And who
Yeah.
knows, maybe along the way, we'll even tap into a little bit of that super consciousness that Levi Dowling was talking about.
Maybe we all have our own cosmic Wi-Fi just waiting to be activated.
Maybe we do.
Yeah.
But on a serious note, there's something powerful about this idea of the Akashic Records, even if we just think of it as a metaphor.
Like a reminder that wisdom and knowledge are all around us if we know where to look.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's about tuning into those quieter frequencies, those whispers of intuition, those echoes of ancient wisdom that are always there.
Okay, I'm feeling very zen right now, but this is the deep dive and we've still got a lot more to explore.
You got it. What's got you curious? What else jumped out at you from this Aquarian Gospel stuff?
Well, you know me, I'm always fascinated by the juicy details. So when I heard this Aquarian Gospel talks about Jesus' childhood, I was all ears.
Oh, yeah, I bet. What kid doesn't want to know what Jesus was like growing up? Did he get in trouble? Did he pull pranks?
Right. And the Aquarian Gospel doesn't disappoint. It claims to give us the inside scoop on young Jesus' life, from his travels to his encounters with spiritual teachers.
Okay, you've got my attention. Let's dive into the Aquarian Gospel's version of Jesus' childhood.
All right, buckle up because it's about to get interesting.
Well, the video dives into a chapter that really piqued my interest. It's called the Sermon on the Mount, and it claims to reveal some of Jesus' secret teachings on prayer forgiveness, all that good stuff.
Oh, the Sermon on the Mount. Even in the traditional Gospels, that's where things get real. So what's the Aquarian Gospel's take on it?
Well, it starts out pretty standard. Jesus and his disciples head up a mountain to pray. But then Jesus drops this wisdom bomb. Prayer is the soul's sincere desire uttered or unexpressed.
Okay, I like that. It's not about just going through the motions. It's about connecting with something deeper.
Exactly. And the video really emphasizes that this version of Jesus wasn't into those showy public prayers. It was all about finding that quiet inner space.
So less about being seen and more about really feeling it.
Right. It's about getting real with yourself and with the divine. And speaking of prayer, that's where the Aquarian Gospel's version of the Lord's Prayer comes in.
Okay, yes. We touched on this earlier, but now it's time for the full reveal. Hit me with the Aquarian Lord's Prayer.
All right, so it starts out pretty familiar. Our Father God, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth, even as it is in heaven. Give us this day the substance of our needs.
So far, so good. Pretty standard stuff. But then it takes that turn right.
Oh, yeah. Instead of forgive us our trespasses, it says, help us to forget the debts that others owe to us, that our own debts may be canceled.
Whoa, it's like a cosmic debt relief program.
Right. It really makes you think about forgiveness in a whole new way. It's not just about asking for a pardon, but about actively letting go of those grudges, those feelings of being wronged.
Because when we hold on to that anger, that resentment, it's like we're the ones who end up in prison.
Exactly. And this whole idea of karmic debt and forgiveness, it's huge in Eastern spiritual traditions.
Yeah, it's like that saying, holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
You got it. It takes real inner strength to release those debts, to break free from those cycles of negativity.
Okay, so after that twist in the Lord's Prayer, where does it go from there?
It goes back to the traditional wording for a bit, continuing with, and suffer us not to be led into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
Okay, keeping it classic.
But then it adds this little gem. For if we forgive all those who trespass against us, our Father God will also forgive us.
So it's making that connection between forgiving others and receiving forgiveness super explicit.
Totally. It's like this two-way street. Our willingness to forgive directly impacts our own experience of being forgiven.
It's like they say forgiveness is a gift you give yourself, but in this case, it's like a cosmic gift exchange program.
And it all leads up to this powerful closing line. For by thy law, which is the law of love, we are judged.
Wow. So in the Aquarian Gospel, love is the ultimate measuring stick.
It seems that way. It really drives home that universal yearning for connection, for compassion, for a world governed by love instead of fear or judgment.
It's like we're all part of this giant web, and our willingness or unwillingness to forgive sends ripples throughout the whole thing.
Exactly. It's this intricate dance of cause and effect.
Yeah.
And it brings us back to that idea of self-knowledge. To truly forgive, to let go of those debts, we have to understand ourselves first.
It's like that line from the Aquarian Gospel, when you know yourself, you know the world of illusion. Maybe self-knowledge is the key to seeing past those illusions of separation, those ideas of us versus them, and recognizing our interconnectedness.
That's a really powerful insight, and it speaks to how these ancient teachings, even the ones that might seem a little out there, can still offer profound wisdom.
Because it's not always about taking every word literally.
Right.
It's about letting these texts challenge our thinking, spark new insights, inspire us to look at things from a different perspective.
Exactly. And maybe that's the whole point. It's not about dogma. It's about using these teachings as a springboard for our own personal journeys of discovery.
So instead of searching for all the answers in an ancient text, maybe it's about letting those texts guide us on our own unique paths.
Precisely. And who knows? Maybe along the way, we'll even stumble upon a little bit of that super consciousness that Levi Dowling was talking about.
Maybe we all have that cosmic hotline just waiting to be dialed.
Maybe we do. But seriously, there's something really powerful about this idea of the Akashic Records, even if we just think of it as a metaphor.
It's like a reminder that this vast well of knowledge, this wisdom of the ages, it's not locked away in some vault. It's all around us, woven into the very fabric of existence.
Exactly. And maybe all it takes to tap into it is a willingness to quiet our minds, to turn inward, to listen to those whispers of intuition, those echoes of ancient wisdom.
Okay, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling very zen right now. But this is the deep dive, and we've got more to uncover.
You got it.
Uh,
What else has got your gears turning?
You know, it's funny. We talk about all these ancient texts and teachings, but sometimes I wonder if that wisdom is closer than we think.
Oh, I know what you mean.
Uh,
Like maybe we're always capping into something bigger than ourselves, whether we realize it or not.
Exactly. It makes you wonder about those moments of inspiration, those gut feelings, those times when an idea just pops into your head out of nowhere.
Right. What if that's us accessing the Akashic Records or some universal consciousness?
Mind blown. But okay, getting back to the Aquarian Gospel, what I found really interesting was how this text presents Jesus. It's not just about his teachings, it's like we get a glimpse into his personality, his struggles, his humanity.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And I think that's something we can all relate to. That sense of searching, of questioning, of trying to figure out our place in the world.
totally. And speaking of searching, one thing that really struck me was the Aquarian Gospel's emphasis on self-knowledge. It's like this constant thread throughout the text.
Oh, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
like Dowling is saying, look, if you really want to understand the universe and your place in it, you got to start by understanding yourself.
It's that whole know thyself thing, right? But the Aquarian Gospel takes it to a whole other level. It's not just about knowing your likes and dislikes. It's about connecting with that divine spark within.
Exactly. And the video really emphasizes that this isn't always easy. It's a process.
Mhm.
It takes work. It's about confronting our shadows, our limitations, our ego.
It's like that saying, the unexamined life is not worth living. But the Aquarian Gospel gives us a roadmap for that examination. It gives us tools and techniques to help us on that journey of self-discovery.
And it reminds us that we're not alone in that journey, that there's this universal consciousness, this divine intelligence that's always there to guide and support us.
Exactly. It's like we're all connected to this infinite source of wisdom and love. We just have to tune in.
And maybe that's the ultimate message of the Aquarian Gospel, that we have the power to access this wisdom, to tap into this love, to create a world that reflects our highest potential.
That's a beautiful thought and a powerful one. Well, listeners, there you have it, the Aquarian Gospel of Jesus. A wild ride through cosmic records, alternative takes on prayer, and a whole lot of food for thought.
Whether you're a seasoned spiritual seeker or just starting to explore these big questions, remember, curiosity is key. Keep asking, keep seeking, and keep diving deep.
And who knows, maybe you'll even stumble upon your own cosmic connection along the way. Until next time, keep exploring.